Hello, my name's Kevin Iverson. I thought I'd do a video about the guitar sounds of bands like Oasis, Paul Weller, Ocean Colour Scene. I was a teenager in the mid-90s and those three bands, as well as many others, were a massive influence on me and inspiration. And over the years I've accumulated equipment and gear and I think I've got an understanding for a lot of those sounds. I write my own music, which you can find on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you get your music. But I'm going to do some examples of those bands, and also probably how I've used them in my own music as well. And hopefully this will help you or inspire you perhaps, or maybe create a bit of a conversation in the comments or whatever. But the first thing I want to say is everything I've got here, nowadays you can get on a good budget or a cheaper budget, whatever you want to call it. I could have pulled out I've got a Les Paul, Gibson Les Paul, but I thought I'd do today with my Epiphone Sheraton, which is a late 90s model. I bought this brand new, my mum and dad got it for me when I was a kid at Christmas, and I was a huge Oasis fan, and it was like the closest thing I could find to what they were using. And also, like, you know, Paul Weller had Epiphone Casino, which he still uses. So anyway, that's the guitar. As far as budget goes, the first make I would suggest is Behringer. They come in like a plastic chassis, but they're very much like the Boss style pedals, which I've got here. They're cheap, but they sound great. And I've also got a Behringer pedal myself, which is like a super fuzz pedal, which I got for like 30 quid, and that was delivered to my door as well. So that's what I'd recommend for a cheaper budget. But obviously you can Google and search for different brands and models, whatever you can find. But the first pedal obviously I'd recommend is a tuner, so you know you're in tune. My tuner comes out this volume pedal, so it goes straight. When I turn that off, I get no sound, but the tuner's still on, so I can make sure I'm in tune. Do that. The volume pedal isn't necessarily needed, but if you're a fan of, say, like with me, it was like probably through the Verve or Ocean Colour Scene, he'll use a volume pedal sometimes just to bring guitars in. And once you put the delay and the reverb on, it sounds really atmospheric, and it works great, I think. Especially if you've got maybe you know, a good rhythm section, whether it's the bass and drums or another guitar player, it comes in. It's like a nice tool to have, but it's not essential. The next pedal that it goes to is a Boss EQ, which I use as a boost for when I want to boost a solo. But the pedal that really it starts with all of it is not only just the tuner, but is the overdrive. Now, if you've got an amp which already has overdrive on it, I'd suggest you want like a light overdrive. If I put, this is the Noble's ODR1 Mini 2, which I love this pedal. So my guitar dry without anything is this. But when I put the overdrive on, it sounds better when the volume's up, but I don't want to ruin the volume as I'm talking to you here on YouTube. I don't know if it compresses it sometimes. So it might sound a bit thin, but on this you've got like a bass cut, so if I take the bass cut off a bit, it warms it up a little bit. But on a live scenario or a normal scenario, I'd have that, it would be cranked a bit more and it would sound a lot more warmer. But I'm trying to keep the volume down for YouTube and whatnot, so you can hear what I'm saying as well. So yeah, I'd have like you don't want anything too overdriven, so whether you're using an overdrive pedal or you're using the overdrive from your amp, you want something kind of light, so you can still hear the notes and it's got a bit of clarity to it, but there is some grit there, you know. So for example, that one sound I could use for, say, like the Changing Man, like, or Riverboat Song. And what should we do? Oasis, like Stand By Me, you can go. So it's like an overall nice sound that you can get a lot with. And also don't forget, if you've got a volume control, if you turn the volume down, it's going to clean up. So so there's the overdrive. Now the boost goes into the overdrive. So if I want to do a solo, take the changing man again, I put that on, and it's going to give me a little bit of a volume lift, but also give me a bit more. It's pushing into the overdrive pedal, so it'll give me a bit more overdrive. So. To me that sounds cool, and you can use that for whenever you're doing a solo, or you want a bit more boost or grit or whatever, to give you a bit of a. So there's that. The next pedal I've got in line is a modulation pedal, and this can change up. You can have like a phaser or a flanger, chorus even. I find that with a phaser I want to put it before my overdrive, but with like a chorus I'll put it after my overdrive. And these are just guidelines, by the way. Always test out, see what sounds better for you. And this is what they call a rotary speaker, which you'll hear in, like, say, Small Faces, Rolling Stones, but also like Paul Weller, Ocean Colour Scene. I use it in my own material as well. And there's two settings. You've got the slow setting, which gives you that Pink Floyd kind of bit of a psychedelic type sound. But then when you press this one over here, this speeds it up, which then kind of gives it say Oasis. So it gives you that kind of sound. There's also on an Ocean Colour Scene track, can't think what it's called, but there's one part in it where he just does this, and then you go happy. Anyway, it's in an Ocean Colour Scene, so I can't remember what the song's called. I use it on one of my own songs as well, called The Pier, which I use with this delay and a reverb, which I'll get to that in a minute. Next in line I use as a tremolo, which you can hear, say, on Half the World Away by Oasis. What I'll do for that is I'll go on the middle, so it's both pickups. Might even turn the pickups down slightly, and if you listen to Half the World Away, you'll have in the background like a which is a really lovely sound. You'll hear it in a lot. I mean, a lot of these sounds, they're quite old school, really. I love a lot of old school, you know, 50s, 60s type sounds, and this is where a lot of this has come from, really. But the other place you can hear this is when Paul Weller plays Paul's End. He'll do that live, and I think Steve Craddock uses that live. But it's using a bunch of stuff, you know. It's such a great pedal to use. Next in line is a delay, which or an echo, if you will. I've kind of got it set at a delay thing at the moment, and you can tap it. So if you're playing with a drummer, you can, you know, if the drummer's playing a drum beat, you can kind of get it in time, and it will put it in time for you. And if you know, if you've got someone, maybe the song speeds up or whatever, you can always, it will speed up or slow it down or whatever. And with this, I like using it for, like, say, like the verb, say Lucky Man. We've got the at least I've got a reverb pedal, and it's set at the moment to a like a 60s kind of spring. So you know, like if you were doing more soulful bluesy type thing, you can go. Now with this particular reverb pedal, it's got a load of different options. So it's got this option where it gives it a bit of, there's a slight bit of chorus, and it sounds quite, just a modern kind of sounding reverb, I guess, which again you can use for like the Verve type stuff. Take Lucky Man again. But then if you mix it with a reverb, the delay, sorry, and use the volume pedal, you can get a, which is why I use the volume pedal. See, it gives it like a, almost like a keyboard. Yeah, so that's basically the pedals I use. And you don't have to have all this. You can have just like a, I mean, Paul Weller back in the day, he had his Marshall cranked, he had a wah-wah pedal, which I've got down here, which I'm not using today. And that's all he used to use. But, you know, having all these other things, you know, especially if you haven't got a sound guy or, you know, a sound engineer, which knows what sounds you want. You know, if you're playing a big venue, you won't use reverb, or you might have some delay. But I know nowadays Paul Weller has this echo pedal, he'll have an overdrive, fuzz pedal, and Steve Craddock's got a very similar setup to this as well. So how I use it in some of my songs, I've got a song called The Pier, and in the middle 8 section at the end I'll have this and this going. So put the timing on for that. That's set on the spring, and I'll go, I'll go, let me think. I'll use that like that. I've also got another song with, there's another setting on here, which is really, if I can find it. Could be it. Okay, let's go. That sounds right, yeah. So I've got another song called Dancing in the Sound, and it starts with like it sounds better when I'm using it with my foot, but just for demo purposes. Really nice. Yeah, I've got a wah-wah as well, which I use, but which again a standard sort of Dunlop. I'll show you it here. So that's my, unplug that minute. That's my wah-wah I've got, just a standard Crybaby wah-wah from Jim Dunlop. And again, that's another pedal that, you know, the likes of Oasis, Paul Weller and Ocean Colour Scene use. If you've got any questions, please let us know. But yeah, basically you want a light overdrive. You don't have to have modulation, but again, this is like a rotary speaker, rotary speaker modulation, which is giving you the replication of what the Hammond players used to use. They used to have a speaker where you had two speakers that would rotate. One would do slow, one would go fast, and that's what that emulates. But you know, you could use a chorus. It's like on the Changing Man. Oh, turn that on. You know, before the guitar solo, sometimes live they might use a use it for that. So that's why I've got that. It's quite a cool little thing to add a bit of colour to your songs or set. Yeah, if there's any questions you got though, please let us know. I hope maybe this would have helped some of you out there. This is what I use my live rig if I'm playing with a band, and it's what I've used on a lot of my recordings and all that. So my recordings are on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your music from. This is all the setup I use, and yeah, I just hope it's inspired some of you or helped some people out if you're wondering how to get those sounds that the likes of Oasis, Paul Weller and Ocean Colour Scene use. Also, you know, like Shed 7, The Verve. You know, it's kind of like a standard sort of setup which will get you a lot of sounds and different places musically. I'm gonna stop rambling on. I'm not really good with my words, but thanks for watching. If you've got this far, if you can check out my music on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you get your music, it's Kevin Iverson. Got a bunch of tracks up there. Yeah, take it easy and see you all soon. Thank you.